Hello, welcome to CRPS Contender, my complex regional pain syndrome education channel. Today's video is how pain changes the brain, neuroplasticity and sensitization, physiology. This video is part of my Mind as Matter mega series, so if you would like to watch these in order, here is the listicle for you. This is the first video of the basic physiology subsection. And so we are now moving into more CRPS specific information rather than the basic neuroanatomy, which was pretty broad and would fit the general population. Before we get into neuroplasticity, I want to take a moment and very briefly go over the basics of the dendritic cell hypothesis. Now this is a very simplified version. So if you want more information about this, I recommend either reading the paper or checking out my Autoinflammation and Autoimmunity miniseries, where I get into a bit more information about it. Dendritic cells are the immunosurveillance cells of your system, and they are responsible for linking your innate and adaptive immune systems and coordinating your immune response. It is hypothesized that in CRPS, your dendritic cells are activated by a noxious event, and that just means an event that causes harm. This could be some sort of injury that causes damage-associated molecular particles to be released. This could be due to immobilization or under-oxygenation of tissue, stress, or an autoimmune response, which is usually not the original injury, but rather the feedback loop. That's usually the autoimmunity there. These dendritic cells move throughout the body and come into contact in the central nervous system with non-neuronal glial cells in the brain and spinal cord. Remember, these non-neuronal cells are the cells that are responsible for supporting neurons so that they don't need to do anything except send signals. These non-neuronal glial cells become inflamed after their interactions with the dendritic cells. These glial cells cause neuroinflammation and an autoimmune response in the central nervous system, focusing on your dorsal root ganglion and your basal ganglia specifically, although they do affect broad other areas as well, but those two get particular attention. This glial cell inflammation causes central nervous system and autonomic nervous system dysfunction, as well as sympathetic nervous system hyperactivity and parasympathetic nervous system hypoactivity. And remember, your SNS and your PSNS come together to form your autonomic nervous system. Your parasympathetic nervous system hypoactivity causes a loss of immune tolerance to the self, which causes an autoinflammatory and an autoimmune response in the body. An autoinflammatory response is an innate immune response, and an autoimmune response is an adaptive immune response. This inflammation response creates a feedback loop, causing cell dysfunction, damage, and death, and just getting larger and larger and larger and larger and louder and louder and louder and louder and never stopping unless there is some sort of deliberate intervention. This inflammation causes connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue degeneration, which is every sort of tissue in your body. So what is plasticity? We are shaped by our experiences, and how we survive is what makes us who we are. Plasticity is the ability of the brain to undergo biological changes. This could be acting upon a single neuron or large-scale cortical remapping of basically your entire brain and all the neuronal connections that you have in there. Plasticity is a totally normal, very important function of the human body that allows us to learn, grow, change, form opinions, be influenced, respond to our environment, and respond to stress. Central sensitization, or wind-up, is what happens when you receive a particular stimuli over and over and over in a repetitive way, and you respond in a progressive manner to it, where it becomes more painful with less provocation. In CRPS, a prolonged pain sensation causes maladaptive reorganization of your entire nervous system. This means you can no longer make adjustments in your own best interest. The brain wants to be as efficient and competent at processing as it possibly can be, and so it runs on the fastest, deepest, strongest, clearest neuronal connections. When your brain maladapts to the constant pain signals, it ends up creating superhighways of pain. These pathways become deep and wide and get utilized as the main mode of transport. depression and chronic stress, which are both caused by CRPS. You might have been experiencing them before CRPS as well, but if you have CRPS, you will definitely be experiencing both of these because CRPS forces them to occur. Depression and chronic stress decrease neuroplasticity. So these pain superhighways are made monumentally large, while plasticity is near your standard baseline. And then CRPS reduces the ability to create new connections. And so the CRPS patient gets stuck in these pathways, unable to escape because the brain can no longer reorganize itself out of the situation, which means the highways just get more used, more ingrained, deeper, and stronger. In the next video, I will be discussing what that looks like in practice. Thanks so much for watching. If you like the content I'm creating on this channel, subscribe or share. If you'd like to contribute to my Patreon, username is listed below. As always, all relevant sources will be linked in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you learned something, and I'll see you on the next one.